Welcome back to the deep dive. Are you ready for another deep dive? Today we're going deep into the world of hypnotism.
Ooh, hypnotism
It's a topic that's shrouded in so much mystery,
and misconception.
so much misconception. And to help us separate fact from fiction, we're going way back to the historical text. Complete hypnotism, mesmerism, mind reading, and spiritualism. It's really like a time capsule taking us to the very beginnings.
It really is. I think it's a great source for this deep dive because
Yeah.
it really lays out the evolution
Yeah.
of hypnotism, starting with its close ties to mesmerism.
Mesmerism. Now we're talking about Franz Anton Mesmer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The 18th century physician who believed he could cure people with magnets.
Yeah, he was a prominent figure in Parisian society at the time. And he created these really elaborate, almost theatrical treatment methods
Oh, wow.
using all sorts of things, magnetized tubs, powdered glass iron filings, you name it.
It sounds more like a magic show than a medical practice.
It did have a certain flair to it, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Even Benjamin Franklin was really captivated by Mesmer's theories when he visited Paris.
Oh, wow. So, but in the end, didn't scientists kind of debunk the idea of animal magnetism?
They did. Yeah, despite all the buzz and the attention his theories received, scientists ultimately concluded that there was no scientific basis for animal magnetism.
So even though Mesmer's methods didn't really hold up scientifically, did any of his work contribute to how we understand hypnotism today?
Oh, absolutely. His work opened the door to exploring the idea that the mind can influence the body,
Right.
which is a concept at the very heart of how we understand hypnotism today.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if magnets weren't the answer, what did researchers look at next to try to understand this phenomenon?
Well, one of Mesmer's followers, the Marquis de Puysegur, he really shifted the focus away from magnetism and more toward the power of suggestion.
Okay.
And there's this fascinating story about Puysegur and a magnetized tree that really illustrates this shift.
A magnetized tree?
Yeah, supposedly a magnetized tree. So Puysegur claimed to have magnetized this tree, and people would flock to it believing it had healing powers.
Okay.
What's interesting is that many actually reported positive changes in their health simply because they believed the tree could heal them.
It's amazing how powerful our beliefs can be, even when it comes to something as tangible as physical health.
Exactly. It really shows the influence of suggestion.
Yeah.
Even without a scientific basis, belief itself can produce real tangible results.
Yeah, that's powerful. So Priestseger really seems to have tapped into something important with this shift towards suggestion. But how did we get from a magnetized tree to the more structured idea of hypnotism that we know today?
Well, Abbé Faria, another key figure,
Oh.
he really emphasized that these phenomena weren't caused by external forces like magnets or trees,
Oh, okay.
but rather by processes happening within the individual's own mind.
So less about the hypnotist having some mystical power and more about the person being hypnotized.
Absolutely. His insights paved the way for a more psychological understanding of hypnotism. Then we have James Braid, who actually coined the term hypnotism. He linked it to physiological processes in the nervous system, suggesting that it wasn't just psychological, but also had a physical basis.
Wow, that's really interesting. This is already changing how I think about hypnotism.
Yeah.
It sounds like the early exploration of hypnotism went through some pretty significant shifts in thinking.
It did.
So where do we go from here? What's next in our understanding of how hypnotism actually works?
Well, to understand how it works, we need to dive into the different stages of hypnotism because, contrary to popular belief, it's not just one single state.
I mean, there are different levels to it.
Different levels or depths, yeah.
Okay.
Professor Charcot was really prominent in this field. He outlined 3 classic stages of hypnotism: lethargy, catalepsy, and somnambulism.
Wow, big words.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But these stages really show that hypnotic states vary significantly in terms of how deep they are and how responsive a person is to suggestions.
That makes sense. So what actually happens in each of these stages?
Well, let's start with lethargy. It's a state of really deep relaxation, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Imagine someone in a profoundly deep sleep.
Okay.
Next is catalepsy, where the limbs become rigid, almost frozen.
Oh.
And this stage is also marked by heightened suggestibility.
Okay, so that's probably what we see in these stage shows, right?
It's getting closer to that for sure.
What about somnambulism?
So somnambulism is particularly fascinating. It resembles a sleepwalking state where someone becomes highly responsive to suggestions, but they might not remember anything that happened during the hypnosis when they wake up.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really unusual way that consciousness can be altered during hypnosis. The text even mentions a case of a young girl in the Mulhouse Hospital who stayed in a lethargic state for 12 days.
12 days.
Yeah. There's also this idea of fascination, where certain stimuli can actually trigger a hypnotic state. So it seems like there's a lot of variety in how hypnotism can actually manifest.
There is, it's really fascinating, and it sounds like understanding these different stages is going to be important, especially when we talk about the therapeutic applications.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I think we should talk about the key element that seems to be driving these different states, which is suggestion.
Right.
Because, it's not mind control like how it's often portrayed.
Yeah.
So how does suggestion actually work in hypnotism?
Yeah, it's definitely not mind control. While suggestion can be powerful in hypnotism, it's not about overriding someone's will. It's more about guiding their attention and increasing their openness to certain ideas.
Okay.
So the hypnotist's voice and the subject's willingness both play crucial roles.
So it's more of a collaboration than anything else.
Exactly. It's not about forcing someone to do something against their nature. It's more like planting a seed, encouraging a specific thought or feeling to take root and grow.
So what about all those stage hypnotists? You see them seemingly make people do these crazy, outrageous things. Are they actually hypnotizing people, or is there something else going on?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely explore in detail. But I can tell you that the world of stage hypnotism often involves a whole set of tricks and techniques that can make it difficult to separate genuine hypnotic phenomena from pure entertainment.
I can imagine. It sounds like there's a lot to unpack there when it comes to the ethics and the potential dangers of using hypnotism in that way.
There is.
But before we dive into that, I think it's time to shift gears a little bit and talk about something a little bit more empowering. Self-hypnosis?
Right.
Is it really possible to hypnotize yourself?
It is, and it can be incredibly powerful.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Self-hypnosis allows you to enter into a hypnotic state on your own without the need for a hypnotist. It's like tapping into your own subconscious mind and using suggestion to create positive changes.
Wow. So how does someone actually hypnotize themselves?
Well, it involves different techniques like focused attention and visualization to induce a really relaxed and receptive state of mind. The text even mentions this intriguing story about Dr. Koch, who accidentally hypnotized himself.
What?
Yeah.
Accidentally hypnotized himself?
Yeah. While he was trying to break free from a hypnotic suggestion, he basically stumbled upon a technique that let him enter a hypnotic state on his own.
That's wild. So he found a way to bypass the need for an external hypnotist altogether.
Exactly. It highlights the fact that we all have the potential to tap into this state of deep relaxation and focus. Self-hypnosis gives us a way to take control of our mental and even physical experiences.
It sounds pretty powerful. So what are some of the things that self-hypnosis can help with? Could it actually help with things like stress or bad habits?
Absolutely. Self-hypnosis can be incredibly effective for managing things like stress and anxiety, because by inducing deep relaxation, it actually calms your nervous system and helps you shift your mindset away from all the worry and the tension.
Oh, okay.
It can even help with sleep. If you have insomnia, self-hypnosis can help quiet the mind and prepare your body for restful sleep.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like giving yourself permission to just let go of those racing thoughts and worries. What about breaking bad habits? Can self-hypnosis actually help with something like that? Like if you wanted to quit smoking, for example?
It can. Self-hypnosis can be a powerful tool for changing ingrained behaviors.
Yeah.
You could use it to reframe how you think about cigarettes, like associating them with negative feelings, or even visualizing yourself successfully quitting. By working with your subconscious mind, you can actually strengthen your resolve and make the whole process of breaking a habit less overwhelming.
Wow. So it's about changing your internal narrative and rewiring your brain's response to those triggers.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. So it sounds like self-hypnosis is a really versatile tool that can be used for lots of different things.
It is. We've only scratched the surface here. It can also be used for things like managing pain, boosting confidence, improving focus, and even enhancing creativity. The possibilities really are vast.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential there for people to really empower themselves.
There is.
So we've talked about self-hypnosis, but what about the use of hypnotism in more formal settings like medicine and therapy? Is it a legitimate tool in those fields?
It is. While it's often seen as an alternative or complementary approach, hypnotism does have a long history of being used in medicine and therapy. And its effectiveness is actually supported by a growing body of scientific research.
So it's not just some fringe practice.
Not at all. In fact, the text mentions a case where Dr. Fort successfully performed an amputation using hypnotism as the anesthetic
Wow.
instead of traditional anesthesia.
That's incredible. An amputation with just hypnotism.
Yeah, It really shows how powerful suggestion can be
Mm,
and how it can influence even our physiological responses to things like pain.
that's amazing. Are there other ways that it's being used in medicine today?
There are. It can be really helpful for managing chronic pain conditions like fibromyalgia or migraines. It can even reduce nausea and vomiting from chemotherapy. And there's promising research on its use in alleviating irritable bowel syndrome.
So it sounds like hypnotism can be a powerful ally when it comes to dealing with a lot of different physical ailments. What about its applications in therapy?
In therapy, hypnotism is often used to address issues like anxiety, phobias, and PTSD.
Okay.
It can help people access and process traumatic memories, reframe negative thoughts, and even develop coping mechanisms for challenging situations.
Hmm.
And it's also been shown to be effective in treating addiction and helping people overcome unhealthy habits.
So it's not just about masking the symptoms, it's about getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
That's really impressive. I have to ask, though, does hypnotism ever venture into the realm of the paranormal? Because, there are claims about mind reading and telepathy and things like that. Is there any truth to that?
That's the question that's fascinated people for centuries.
Know.
While hypnotism itself is a scientifically recognized phenomenon, claims about mind reading and telepathy are definitely more controversial. They fall into the realm of parapsychology.
So hypnotism might be able to explain some things about the power of suggestion in the subconscious mind, but it doesn't necessarily validate those more extraordinary claims.
Exactly. It's important to separate the two.
Yeah.
But even without venturing into the paranormal, there are still aspects of hypnotism that border on the mysterious.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, think about thought transference, which is essentially the idea of telepathy.
Okay.
The text describes some really interesting experiments by Dr. Koch, where he was able to seemingly transfer tastes and sensations to hypnotized subjects.
Really?
Like he would put a quinine tablet in his mouth, and the subject, without knowing what he was doing, would start complaining of a bitter taste.
That sounds pretty wild. How could something like that even be possible?
That's the million-dollar question. Some theories suggest that it might be explained by a heightened sensitivity to subtle cues,
Okay.
or maybe even some form of unconscious communication between the hypnotist and the subject. Others think there might be undiscovered mechanisms of energy transfer or interconnectedness that we just haven't fully grasped yet.
Wow. It's definitely a fascinating area of exploration.
It is.
One that raises more questions than it answers.
It does. And it really reminds us that there's still so much we don't know about the full potential of the mind and all the mysteries surrounding consciousness.
It really makes you appreciate just how complex and powerful the human mind really is.
It does.
And speaking of pushing the boundaries of our understanding, I think it's time to shift gears one more time and delve into another really intriguing area where hypnotism intersects with the unexplained, the world of spiritualism.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting. We're going to explore the connections between hypnotism and the possibility of communicating with spirits.
Wow.
Yeah, mediums and seances.
Yeah.
That's really captured the public's imagination for centuries.
It has.
And there's so much to unpack when it comes to the potential role of hypnotism in those types of experiences.
There is. There is, yeah. So are we saying that hypnotism could actually explain how these mediums connect with the spirit world?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Our text mentions Mrs. Leonora Piper, who was a well-studied medium,
Right.
and she seemingly communicated with spirits.
Yeah, her case was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was investigated by numerous researchers, and there's debate over whether hypnotism might hold a key to understanding these kinds of phenomena.
I see. So how could hypnotism play a role in something like that?
Well, some researchers believe that mediums might be entering a heightened state of subconscious awareness,
Okay.
almost like a form of self-hypnosis.
Okay.
In this state, they might be incredibly receptive to subtle cues and information that our conscious minds would usually filter out.
So it's not necessarily that they're talking to spirits, but that they're just accessing this deeper level of their own subconscious mind.
That's one interpretation. Professor Hudson,
Uh,
he suggested that mediums might unconsciously gather information from their sitters,
Okay.
the people who are there to try and contact spirits,
Right.
and then they weave that information into their trance narratives.
It's amazing how much information our subconscious minds must be taking in that we're not even aware of.
It really is.
So they're not necessarily intentionally deceiving anyone.
Right.
It's more like they're tapping into a wellspring of information that they're not even consciously aware of.
It really speaks to the power and complexity of the human mind. The line between conscious and subconscious awareness might be more fluid than we realize.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a medium is seemingly channeling a spirit, it might actually be their own subconscious mind at work, drawing on this huge reservoir of information and experiences.
It's a pretty compelling theory, isn't it?
Hmm.
It aligns with what we know about the power of suggestion and how our subconscious minds can really influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions.
It really challenges our assumptions about what's even possible, doesn't it?
It does.
This idea that our subconscious minds might actually hold the key to understanding phenomena that have been attributed to the supernatural for centuries.
It's a fascinating possibility, and it just underscores how much we still don't know about the full potential of the human mind.
Absolutely. So while hypnotism might not definitively explain everything about mediums and seances, it certainly offers a thought-provoking perspective.
Yeah, and it raises some important questions about the nature of consciousness and the hidden depths of our own minds.
This whole deep dive into hypnotism has been really incredible. We started with magnetized tubs, and now we're contemplating the subconscious mind and the potential for unlocking all these hidden abilities within ourselves.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We've covered so much ground, from mesmerism to modern applications of hypnotism.
Yeah, and the ethical considerations.
Absolutely.
It's clear that this field has a lot to teach us about ourselves and about harnessing the power of the mind.
Yeah, we've talked about the different stages of hypnotism, the power of suggestion, the possibilities of self-hypnosis,
Thought transference.
thought transference. We even touched on the mysteries of spiritualism.
It's been quite a deep dive.
It has. And through all of it, one central theme has really emerged: the remarkable ability of the human mind to shape our experiences.
It's really incredible when you think about it.
Whether it's the power of suggestion, the depths of our subconscious, or the potential for accessing this hidden knowledge within ourselves.
Hypnotism really reveals just how extraordinary the human mind is.
Well said. So where do we go from here? What's next for people
Yeah.
who are fascinated by hypnotism and want to learn more?
I think the most important thing is to keep exploring. There are tons of resources out there.
Yeah.
Books, articles, research studies, and who knows, you might uncover some incredible insights about yourself and the world around you.
Yeah. The journey of discovery is never ending, and the human mind is definitely one of the most captivating landscapes to explore.
I agree.
Wonderful. Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of hypnotism. We hope you've enjoyed exploring this captivating and mysterious field.
We did.
Remember, the power of the mind is always within your reach.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those questions coming. There is.
Yeah.
So, are we saying that hypnotism could actually explain how these mediums connect with the spirit world?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Our text mentions Mrs. Leonora Piper, who was a well-studied medium,
Right.
and she seemingly communicated with spirits.
Yeah, her case was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was investigated by numerous researchers,
Yeah.
and there's debate over whether hypnotism might hold a key to understanding these kinds of phenomena.
I see. So how could hypnotism play a role in something like that?
Well, some researchers believe that mediums might be entering a heightened state of subconscious awareness,
Okay.
almost like a form of self-hypnosis.
Okay.
In this state, they might be incredibly receptive to subtle cues and information that our conscious minds would usually filter out.
So it's not necessarily that they're talking to spirits, but that they're just accessing this deeper level of their own subconscious mind.
That's one interpretation. Professor Hessen.
Okay.
He suggested that mediums might unconsciously gather information from their sitters, the people who are there to try and contact spirits,
Right.
and then they weave that information into their trance narratives.
It's amazing how much information our subconscious minds must be taking in that we're not even aware of.
It really is.
So they're not necessarily intentionally deceiving anyone.
Right.
It's more like they're tapping into a wellspring of information that they're not even consciously aware of.
It really speaks to the power and complexity of the human mind. The line between conscious and subconscious awareness might be more fluid than we realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when a medium is seemingly channeling a spirit, it might actually be their own subconscious mind at work, drawing on this huge reservoir of information and experiences.
It's a pretty compelling theory, isn't it?
Yeah.
It aligns with what we know about the power of suggestion and how our subconscious minds can really influence our thoughts, feelings, and actions.
It really challenges our assumptions about what's even possible, doesn't it?
It does.
This idea that our subconscious minds might actually hold the key to understanding phenomena that have been attributed to the supernatural for centuries.
It's a fascinating possibility.
Yeah.
And it just underscores how much we still don't know about the full potential of the human mind.
Absolutely. So while hypnotism might not definitively explain everything about mediums and seances, it certainly offers a thought-provoking perspective.
Yeah, and it raises some important questions about the nature of consciousness and the hidden depths of our own minds.
This whole deep dive into hypnotism has been really incredible. We started with magnetized tubs, and now we're contemplating the subconscious mind and the potential for unlocking all these hidden abilities within ourselves.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has. And
Yeah.
through all of it, one central theme has really emerged: the remarkable ability of the human mind to shape our experiences.
It's true.
Whether it's through the power of suggestion or through the depths of our subconscious, or the potential for accessing this hidden knowledge inside all of us.
Hypnotism shows us just how extraordinary and mysterious the human mind is.
It really does. Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into hypnotism.
It's been fun.
We hope you've enjoyed it, and remember, the power of the mind is always within your reach.
Until next time, keep asking those questions and stay curious as well.